Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Smart Money Woman book and series review hosted by myself, Muma and the beautiful Maureen Navaliato. We're both women in the financial services industry, and we felt it's such an imperative thing for us to bring a series that was going to highlight how women today can get out of debt, how they can create better financial health habits for themselves and their families, as well as men, because the advice that was given and shared here was not just for women, it can apply to anybody. So, as you have a listen to this recorded session, think about your own life and some of the changes that you could start making in your own financial journey. And we're really excited to share this with you. Please join us in our next sessions and feel free to join our Facebook groups. So that's City So You Think You Can Inspire, and the Financial Corner, Fitness Corner for Divas. So please join us and enjoy. Let me just read. I wrote down a little bit of stuff. So here's the story. So the story revolves around a classic girl squad. So there's a girl called Zuri with her 4 other friends. So Zuri is the protagonist and she's got best friends. Tammy, who's a fashion designer and she's got a very wealthy dad. She also dates rich boyfriends, as Amanda was saying. Then you got who's an oil and gas executive. We get to learn a little bit about her story. Her story mainly includes things like black tax, how black tax affects Black people, because she had a younger brother that she was taking care of. Her dad died when she was really young, so she's now the older one. She's pretty much taking care of everybody. And then Adesua is the lawyer. She is actually, in my opinion, the person who's the most good with money. But on one end, I really love Adesua's story because it not only talks about money, but it shows the relationship of money to all other relationships that you have. So you can be extra good with money, but if you have rotten relationships, it doesn't mean anything. You still zero because those people will suck you. So she had a horrible husband who was terrible with money and just was cheating on her. And then you got Ladun. Ladun is a rich housewife and her husband is from a very, very wealthy, generational wealth kind of family. We get to hear her story. I'm sure somebody's going to talk about it. So these are 4 of Zuri's main friends. But Zuri's own story, she comes from a normal background. She went to school outside the country. She's come back, but her mom is pretty much has struggled to educate her. And Zuri is now working in a real estate firm in Lagos, and she's making over 600,000 naira every month, which is about over 2,000 pounds every month after taxes. And that's absolutely a lot of money in Nigeria for somebody her age, because she's only about 28 years old. So the first chapter actually began by exclaiming, "I can't believe this is happening to me." And at some point, I was just thinking in time, most of us have asked ourselves this really famous question. And most of the time, it's a sign of when you're broke. And that's what the first chapter is all about. It's about being broke. And on the outside, everyone thinks that Zuri is wealthy and she's doing well, but no one can see the skeleton in her closet. And it starts with her realizing that the month is barely midway and she doesn't have enough in her bank account to have transport money for work, to even pay her service charge. So in Nigeria, they have something called a service charge. I assume it's bills and maintenance of the property. And at the end of the chapter, the author explains that being broke is when if you lost your primary source of income today, you wouldn't be able to maintain the lifestyle that you are accustomed to because you have no assets to rely on. And she then explains that being wealthy isn't about how much you earn, but it's about how much you keep. And I was just like, whoa. I was just like, okay. she's giving points here. I mean, I don't know what you guys thought of that. What is your view of wealth? And I don't know, what are you gaining from what we've just spoken about now? What did you glean from the story yourself? I think this should be an open discussion. I don't think I'll even share the slides. I think the slides will be shared right at the end, maybe, if you guys want them. We had some good slide pictures of every point she made at the end of the series, and I think those would be really good for you guys to look at. Let's just make it a discussion. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I liked how Amanda has started. I'm particularly interested to know if any of the characters appealed to you, if you could see yourself in a character, maybe a sibling, maybe you could see a sibling in a character. I think most of the characters spoke to most of us. So it would just be important for us to discuss that and, you know, get all the lessons. So we're reviewing both the book and the series. Like I said, they're both different, but I think they did a pretty good job in trying to capture what was in the book. Yeah.
So who would like to go? Please open all your mics. We will share the book with everybody at the end, if you would like. I've got it. So please let us know. The book is actually really good. Yeah, go ahead, please. Or shall I go on ahead? I'll start maybe because to encourage you guys to start. Or Maureen, would you like?
Go ahead and share something.
Yes, go on, Inonge.
This is Inonge. Hi, everybody. And
Hi, Nonge. I would really like to see your face at some point.
Hi, Nonge.
But yeah,
you will. And I was just gonna excuse myself ahead of time. I may not be fully engaged. I'm working, but I just couldn't miss this for anything. So I'll go right ahead before I get a little bit distracted, but I'm here. Working from home. Let me turn on my video. Muareen, you really want to see my face?
I haven't seen you in ages. Like, oh my God. Oh, nice to see you.
Yeah. So I have
Okay,
my work
thank
computers
you.
in front, so I bring it up forward here just for a few minutes. So I haven't read the book, but I've seen the series. Actually, I just started watching it yesterday after I registered for this session, so I'm not very like behind and not really knowing what you guys are talking about. So I'm not done with it, but so far I really relate to Zuri, like in so many aspects, you know, where you have spent beyond and you just don't take account. But of course, go point where you're like, okay, wait a minute, where's my money going? And sometimes it's the people around you, like we see from Zuri, who actually see the value of what she has. And then as they begin to wonder why she's broke with a very good job, that she starts to really recount and go back to what she's spending. And I think for me, I relate to that because without a conscious decision to really take account, if I'm shopping or if I go for the good stuff, I don't care about the price. So as long as it's good, right? But then you get to a point where like, okay, let me see where the money is going. And just the conscious realization that it's probably going to things that, you know, are not even adding much value to life or not really growing the finances. So so far as what I've watched, I really relate to her, and I still feel like I'm at a point where I get it, but still need to really go further into like investing more than what I'm doing right now. And also just, you know, getting over this mindset of I'll invest when I get the money. I'll invest when I have so much more. But then it has to start from somewhere. So pretty sure after this session, I'm gonna get some good tips from all you wonderful people on, you know, how to begin, even when it feels like there's not so much extra, there's just not so much to put away, but then someone has to start from somewhere. So yeah. And I also like for Zuri, I also like the point where when you get to that point or that decision in your mind, I like when she got to a point where she hears someone offering her money and she knows she can easily go get, you know, money from someone to sort out this issue, but she gets to a point of thinking, no, you know, I can figure this out somehow. And then you start to realize, oh, there's the people around your circle, can they really help you? Or is it going to come with attachments? You know, so the decision to just not add more baggage to the situation already. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I think that's very powerful. Yeah. Really powerful. I think most of us to some aspects of Zuri. We mostly relate to her. I'm just reading something from the chat, Muma.
Yeah, come
I
on.
think Suzio is not able to speak. So she's saying she resonates with Zuri. She's not really a lavish person, but I realize the little spends add up to a lot. I have a fairly decent salary, but I still need to start making more investments that I'm doing. Keeping track of my spends is something I need to start doing. Yeah, so that's what Suzio says.
Can I also just add something? The lady who just spoke, sorry, Muyaka, right? It's Muyaka?
Inonge.
No, that was Inonge.
Inonge. Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. Yes, Inonge. I particularly like what you said with regard to when you get money, then you feel like that's when you're going to be able to make all these great investments and stuff. If I can just also say that one principle that I learned from the book, which is a biblical principle, is to whom much is given, much will be required. You know, you are literally taught in the Bible that you are responsible for the little you have, and that's when the Lord will bless you with the more. Because how can you be blessed with more if you can't even take care of the little that you have? You know what I mean? And so for me also, like you rightly said, you need to learn to deal with what you have, and the prayer doesn't change. You know, you keep asking God to increase your territory, like, Lord, bless me. But if you mishandle what little you have, or if you can't even take care of what little you have, how do you expect the Lord to bless you? You know, it had me thinking about prayers that we make, particularly as women, you know, like, Lord, I want to be great, I want to be comfortable and stuff. But then the little work that you are given, you probably will look down on. And I think, like you rightly said as well, it's a mindset change. You change your mindset with regard to understanding that there are different ways that you can make money. You know, you don't always have to be corporate in an office. You know, there are so many ways to make money. So yeah, for me, it was also just realizing that you can invest with the little you have and watch it grow, and that's experience. You know, you can share that with someone else, with the next person. So yeah, I think I just wanted to share that principle that I learned. Yeah.
That is so powerful.
Yeah, that was great. There's something that Zuri says in the book, which I didn't pick in the series, where she says, when you're at the age where she is, I think she was 28, right? So yeah, at 28, you really don't think it's time for you to own a home. You think you're too young to, you know, to have any sort of investment. So every money that you get just goes into expenditure. You don't think about buying land. You don't think about buying stock, you know, having a stock portfolio. And you just think you're young. You've got so much time ahead of you. So I think that was really eye-opening. And that's why so far, everybody is mentioning Zuri, because from the outside, everybody from the outside thinks she's very successful. She lives in a very expensive neighborhood. I don't know the way they described it in the book.
Like phase one.
Yeah, so in Lusaka, it would be, I don't know, guys, help me. Yeah, Salama, maybe not something like, well, anyway, these days in Lusaka, things have changed. So there will be expensive apartments in different areas. Yeah. So it happens to, sure, who is that?
Chulu.
It's Cholo.
Go on, Chulu.
Oh, yeah. Yes, Chulu, go on.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you. I thought you were done. Sorry. I just wanted to point out, for me, I think I really liked, or not, it's not even liked, I think I related to Tammy. And why I related to Tammy, like, I don't have the rich dad or anything like that. But I think Tammy, her story is all about denial, really, and avoidance, you know? I think for me, you know, when I look at my expenses, I'll just be like, oh my goodness, I don't spend a lot of money on other things. You know what I mean? Like when I'm trying to say that, okay, when I'm tracking my money. But what I came to realize is when I do spend money, let's say impulsively, it's a big spend, like it's lavish, you know what I mean? And you know, when you're in denial about how you spend money or what your triggers are, how you feel about money, all of those things will block you from actually making the changes that you need to make. So yeah, I just think it's really important to face our relationship with money and why we have the relationships that we have with money. That's all.
That is so. Can I just say something here? Maureen mentioned before what Zuri said about being 28 years old and I'm young. It's actually ended the sentence by saying it will be the job of my husband or the man to provide like assets and stuff like that. I don't need it. And then Chulu has mentioned Tammy, and she's mentioned about owning up to our finances and actually being honest. What do you do? Do you do it lavishly or in denial? And I have been really deeply thinking about this important question. I think talking about money and how to save is not, and I don't think it's the solution in my opinion. Because as African people, when you look at the deep-rooted issues that we have, they're first cultural. So I'll give you an example. When I first came to England, I was 17. And when I came here, I had never worked a day in my life. And in fact, when I go to university, luckily, the first week, somebody offered me a job. And what did I do? Because I didn't know how to make decisions on my own. I called my mom. Mom, should I take this job? She said, hell no. I didn't send you there to work. I sent you to study. I was like, Mom, but it's in university. You know, I want to be able to make money at university and they won't tax me. So it's good. It doesn't even interfere with my course. She said no. And it's only when I look at that behavior and I realize it's not just me. All my African friends had never worked. It's not just Zambian people. All African parents think that education is the way for you to become rich, right? They instill in us. A majority of us do not even know what assets our parents have, what debts our parents have. A majority of us don't even know what the real cost of milk or like for a family is. We might know that the cost of milk is 40p, but we don't know what like buying a house of 6 people's milk is. Even though we've lived in a house like that, right? We just think things come. We don't know the area that we live in, the cost of properties or the cost of rent and things like that, like just basic. Why? Because the majority of us watch our parents' behavior, which a lot of the times is not really good. A majority of the time it's hand to mouth, even though your parents have got good jobs. And what that does sits in your subconscious. Your unconscious mind learns what the money story is. And what you do is you write that money story into your DNA. And even if you do earn 100,000, 1 million, it goes back to what Amanda said. Because you've got a mindset of lack, which is what you saw a lot of the times, you're unaware because you haven't like asked yourself, like what you were saying, you haven't jolted yourself to ask yourself the question, why do I behave, why I behave with money? Why is my behavior with money like this? Why is it that even if I've tracked my money, I still can't understand where it really went? And when people ask me to go out, even if I've decided I'm going to be saving, why do I just say, okay, you know, instead of saying maybe next time, things like that. And I think the main question we should all be asking is, what is my money story? And your money story is what you learned from your parents or the people who raised you, the people you saw around you. How did they behave when it came to money? And I'm telling you, if you do that little exercise to ask yourself, how did my parents behave with money? You will figure out the problems you have with money or why you're very good at money. If you had like a dad or an uncle who you always said was stingy because they always budgeted and they did this, you will find that you're somehow like that as well. I don't know. What do you guys think about what I've just said? Please share your thoughts. Everyone, welcome. You can all open your mics.
Before that, let me just...
I just wanted to,
Sorry, Anga, I just want to read what someone has said in the chat and then you can go after that. This is from Muyaka. I relate with Zuri in the sense that I have too much expenditure that I don't account for or not pay attention to. I spend because I feel I have to without really caring how much the little expenses add up to. So definitely there was a lesson there for me. When I look at Tammy, I feel I relate to her in the sense that I have this realization that my finances need to be worked on, but I just keep putting it aside. I have a good income and a few businesses that need me to really put the house in order, but I keep distracting myself and putting the clean up off. Very, very good. Okay, Anga, you can go.
Okay, so I'm driving, so you may be getting a bit of feedback or noise in the background.
Please
just
be safe.
to touch on what Muma has said, she is so right about the fact that the way you were raised or the people who raised you sort of play a very big role in the way you deal with money. My dad was a big spender and is still a big spender, and it's a type of thing where if you come into a huge amount of money, it's like spend, 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 and we'll wait for the next one to come. So that culture of saving was never ingrained in me growing up. I got married very early, and my husband was a saver. Muareen, you know this. My husband was a saver, and we used to argue, like right at the beginning, it's like, I'll get money in, and I want to spend, spend, spend. One thing that he drilled into me, which I appreciate now, was the fact that when you're making your budget, I'm very good at making budgets, and I've always been very good at making budgets, but my budget never included saving. And he always said that the first thing, your saving should be a cost. Always consider it a cost. The same way that you say, you know what, I've got school fees, I've got rent, I've got groceries, I've got entertainment. Always include that line for saving and say this money is spent. In order to help with that discipline, he forced me to open a savings account, which I needed to give 30 days notice on in order to make any withdrawals on it. So I would have a direct deduct every month that went into savings. By the time you think of waiting the 30 days to go and draw on that money, you're at the end, the next salary. And that helped to inculcate that culture of saving in me.
That's really,
wow,
really nice.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's so powerful.
I hope you're all writing down these tactics.
Yeah, I think everyone is just adding something really, really powerful to the discussion. And really now I think we don't have an excuse not to raise our children right, for those of us that have got children, because we've realized, like everybody has said, Muma, Inonge, Amanda, Yanga, everyone is saying almost the same thing, in different words. How you were raised determines how you do life in most cases. So now most of us don't have any excuses because we are here. We've got information. We've got so much information. We've got wonderful books. We are here because of this book that was written for women. And most of us are relating to these characters. And they've even gone a step further. If you don't like reading, no problem. Go to Netflix and watch the series. So I think we need to make decisions to change, make better decisions. Even some of us, like I'm a financial advisor, but when I watch the series, when I read the movies, there is some aspects that I still tell myself, oh my God, that's so me. Like the part in the book where she was talking about not attending weddings anymore, because every time she attends a wedding, she has to get an outfit that she will never wear again. That is so me. Not weddings per se, but for every event I will, I like to look good. So I never repeat my outfits, because I've worn it before. And I've got I'm telling you, I've got a whole wardrobe full of expensive dresses. And this is not a cheap dress. This is an expensive dress that I'm going to wear. And I don't want to repeat it again because I've already taken a photo. I love photos. I think everybody who's here knows that I love photos because I've taken a photo. I also love social media. So I've already posted it. I'm not going to post it again. So then when I'm reading the series, I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm a financial advisor. I didn't realize before rereading the book and watching the series that actually that's an area where I'm spending money that I don't need to spend money. So maybe cut down on some events, maybe if I'm going to wear it once, why does it have to be so expensive? So yeah, anybody else can chip in and, if someone has just joined, we are talking about the characters and who you related to more. It could be you, it could be a sibling. Let's just have an interactive conversation.
Maureen, just on what you said about outfits and you really need to cut down on them. In an instance where you've got like an entertainment budget to say, you know what, for my clothes, I'm going to spend a maximum of say 2,000 kwacha or 5,000 kwacha per month. What's wrong with buying an outfit that you wear once considering your saving is already gone, your future planning, your kids' school is sorted, you are the financial advisor. If you've already got a plan for that, is it really that wrong to come and say, you know what, I'll buy an outfit worth 2,000 kwacha, wear it once and pack it away?
Yes, that is a very good challenge that you've given me, Yanga. That is totally important because I actually have an entertainment budget. But when it comes to outfits, I go beyond that sometimes. So I used to be so good at it sometimes where you stick to the entertainment budget. And if that budget is exhausted, then that's it. But then sometimes you get this event that, you know, I have an annual awards in December. That's in my budget in London. So I always wear a new dress for that. But then there's the in-betweens where, you know, this event, it wasn't really planned for, and then, you know, but I agree with you. If you've put it in your budget, so maybe increase your budget, or I don't know what others would think, but I totally hear what you just said there. If it's in your budget, I don't think it's a problem. But if you go beyond your budget, then it becomes a problem.
I have a question for you, Maureen. So when it comes to the outfits, the events, does this happen also for like events where you don't even know the person?
Oh no, I stopped
Per
that.
se.
I stopped that a long time ago. And I think that was actually addressed in the book. I can't remember if it was addressed in the series, but it was addressed in the book where the problem she had is that she was invited to these events where she doesn't even know the person. Maybe the person is Tammy's friend, and then she had to go because you had to show up. For me, I changed that a couple of years ago. I won't be bothered to, you know, dress up. If my friend wants me to accommodate them, I'm not going to go and break the bank and, you know, buy an expensive outfit. No, that one, no. Yeah, but I realized that people still do that. And it was a problem even in the book where she says, you know, for them, you have to dress up for that event and you don't even know the person. You know, you go there and you're just showing up and you have to dress up and you're spending money that you could have diverted to something else. Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
I think I saw that in the movie. I saw that in the series at the point. I know they call it a shobi or something, and
Yes,
that's
the
another,
traditional outfit.
yeah, where that's another clear thing, like you are saying, that you definitely most likely won't wear anywhere else. And so, like Zuri, when she was getting to realize that she's spending so much, she's like, who's this person? I don't even know who, you know, who this person is, the event and all. So that, not so much me also by now, after a good realization, but I think it's a culture thing that really needs to change among us, you know, these kitchen parties, these committees, this stuff, and you don't even know who this person is. And this is especially the unplanned for things. It just comes, it's sudden, and you just have to like spend. You didn't even know this person. It wasn't in your budget. You have no idea, but you just want to keep up. And so my question there is on the culture of saying no. I think that's something that most people still need to work on. We don't know how and when to say no,
To say no.
especially
Yeah.
when it comes to family. I don't remember her name. There was another one of the ladies. She was successful, but she was helping like the brother, the
Yeah,
sister, bought the brother
that
a
was
car.
Lara.
Exactly. So how do you deal with that? She's like the breadwinner. She's like paying for everybody, taking care of everybody, gets to a point of saying no, and the family is coming and they're prostrating and all of that. How do you handle that?
We're going to talk about
Yeah.
as well. I think that's it. Putti, did you want to say something? You got your mic on? We've got one gentleman in this whole group, and I would really love to hear his views as a man when we speak about other topics or now.
Oh, we have a gentleman. That's interesting. Yeah.
Does he have something to say? I have things
His mic on.
I would like to say.
Okay. Go on.
Okay, so I was gonna say that first of all, I would like to address the point of the culture point. My housemate actually says, why do Zambians treat no like an insult? Like it is okay. You know, I haven't offended you. I've just basically honored my boundaries, you know what I mean? And I say this in the sense that I have a friend, she has a best friend, and she has this very close friend. Well, she calls her her best friend, and her sister was getting married, you know. So there's three events: there's the Chilangamlilo, there's the bridal shower, and there's the wedding, you know. And because this is your best friend, you obviously support the sister. You're talking about you're talking about the financial bit, which gives money for the function, and obviously as support. You're talking about outfits for all these three functions. You know what I mean? And for me, it was an instant non-starter. It was, she's your best friend. You know, you have to show up and show out for her. But she just said, Amanda, I had to pick one. I just said, I can't attend all of them financially and even just mentally for her. She's like, I can't, you know. So I chose the bridal shower. I bought a whole outfit. I contributed. She asked me about the wedding. I just said, I'm sorry, I won't make the wedding. And her best friend was offended. She's like, I need you here to support me and all that stuff. But she's like, listen, I do support you and I have done my part, but there's a point where I draw the line. So my point with that was, even in the people that you do want to support, to be honest, you need to prioritize. Even if you do want to attend all the functions, realistically speaking, it's not possible. I'm a person who likes to dress up as well. I like photos, you know. But for me, it's different. I don't necessarily, I don't get lavish outfits. I do spend. And after that, I give them to my relatives, like my cousins, because I'm also not going to wear them again. But yeah, you know, like you literally need to pick, even in your friendships and in your family, like I'm not financially able to do this. And I think, like Muma said, we are a generation that is now woke, as we like to call ourselves. We're able to set boundaries. Like, I'm sorry, my finances do not allow me to do this, or my finances will not support me to invest in these three functions of yours. So which function would you rather have me attend? And let me, you know, like, and I'll be there. Otherwise, I don't necessarily think like Muareen said, you need to break the bank or rather rob the bank just to show that you support someone. And support comes in many different ways. It's not just about dressing up and going to a function. You know, you could decide that, okay, no, on the bridal shower day, what do you need picked up or who do you need picked up? I'll pick them up. And then, yeah, unfortunately, I won't attend. So, yeah, that was my 2 cents with regard to that issue.
Hello.
I think our gentleman wants to say something. I can go after. Please go.
Thank you. I was about to say, I think the only guy here. Anyway, so yeah, I just had one point, which is very important. I think Momo mentioned it with just that culture, you know, like how you were raised obviously affects how you deal with money. So I'm from South Africa, so I have like friends of, you know, like different races, and it's like a common issue I pick up is, for example, even people, like I'm an accountant, like if I compare people in my profession versus like some of my white friends, for example, obviously you know, like they'll have like an advantage with generational wealth and stuff. But I have like friends, like a couple, like they are teachers. So teachers in South Africa, it's not like one of like the highest paid profession, but the way they deal with money, like the way they save, the way they, you know, like invest, you know, like it's so effective when I compare that to like, it's like if you had to combine their salary, I probably make more than what they make, but they have like 2 houses, you know what I mean? They have a lot saved up. And then if I had to look at like social media of my friends, like in the same profession that make like way more than those guys, it's like every weekend, you know, like the cool box is filled, you know what I mean? Like everything is expense, 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 expense. And then on top of that, we're also dealing with black tax. So now it's like black tax on top of that, and then debt on top of that. And then it's like, let's say if they get promoted, when they get promoted, it's like the expenses increase. So it's like every year expenses increase. So by the time they retire, like you wouldn't even say, you know, like they worked in a certain profession. And now if you compare that to, you know, my friends, like they, you know, like they can be conservative, like they if they, like they won't just spend just for the need, like for the sake of spending. Like, I don't know if it's, I think it's in South Africa, it's one of our biggest problems is like, I come from like a very poor, like extended family. Like when we have weddings and stuff, like alcohol will always be like a big expense. You know what I mean? Like we'll struggle with, I don't know, like other like burial stuff, like, other expenses like food and stuff. But I know like alcohol will always be like, you know what I mean? And also, yeah,
Southern
and also,
Africans, yo.
yeah.
That's our
Yeah.
problem.
And then also that point about save, like if you, let's say like your expenses are like a lot compared to what you make, it's like there's other effective ways of investing. For example, I have friends, like there's like 13 of us, like we contribute like, let's say about 600 South African rands, and we invest that every month basically. And this started like in 2019. So it's like we do that and invest in shares, and that's just as effective, more effective than like trying to save whatever little that you make and then invest. You know what I mean? Like it's just finding effective ways to invest. Yeah.
Yeah, that made a lot of sense. Yeah. I was just going to say, on top of what Amanda had said, I think to Inonge's question on black tax, unfortunately, we really can't run away completely from black tax because of the culture thing. I have an auntie who used to have, relatives in the village. So every month she used to send them money, she used to send them clothes. And for a long time, that was a norm until she got a job and had to move to the UK. And instead of thinking about herself, the first thing she thought about was, oh my God, how are they going to survive? I'm going to the UK, I need to settle down. How am I going to get things to them? And I think she spent like 6 to 7 months without sending anything. And then she said they were not dead. Like 6 months later, they were alive, So somehow they can survive. I think there's also a sense of entitlement. If you look at the lady that Inonge mentioned, Lara, you could see that she was spending money, had earned money for her brother, sending him to school, and then he's misusing that money on other things. So there's also this sense of entitlement because they know that when they come, you are going to go over and beyond. That's actually not empowering them. I think we can't run away from black tax, but we can manage it. For me personally, from a financial advisor perspective, is the problem that was there in the past is a lot of us, our parents, our grandparents, they did not plan for their future. They might have taken us to school, we graduated and whatever, all those, everybody has got different stories, but they didn't plan for themselves. Some of them were working, they had good jobs, but they didn't plan. And well, we can't really blame them because maybe they didn't know better. All they knew then was build a house and you're safe. But now we have no excuse. We have to plan for our future. You need to plan for your own retirement so that you are not a burden to your children and their children. So right now, because we are in this dilemma where we have parents, we have extended families, for me personally, I got to a point where, I'm working and you don't know where your money is going. I think those questions were asked in the book several times, that where is my money going? You're not progressing. You are working, you're getting a decent salary, but you're not progressing because every other month you have to help someone out. And because they know that you can help, they will even call you for, sometimes I used to get calls from the village where even when they're asking for help, they have to explain themselves to say, oh, this one's daughter's daughter. Like it doesn't even make sense, but because you feel like you have to help and then you end up helping. So you need to get to a point where you know who you need to help and then manage that. It's not everybody that should depend on you. And then you make it easy for you. Things like I've got medical schemes for some people that, from extended family. And, I pay something like 12, 20 kwacha per person on it's called an HIMA. I think a lot of people in Zambia know it. Is it NIMA medical
Yeah.
scheme?
Yeah.
So I've identified people in my extended family who should absolutely depend on me, and I don't have a problem with it. Okay, so I have a budget where every month, so like I talked about the entertainment budget, then I have this, I call it a black tax budget, you know, and once I've exhausted that budget for the month, then I'm broke to you. If you see me drinking champagne, I'm broke. To you, I'm broke, but to me, I'm not broke, okay, because I've exhausted my budget. Then I've done funeral policies as well, where I've added people who I feel, you know, should be on my tab. And when you do a funeral policy, because that's also a huge expense, because no one plans to die. You just get a phone call in the middle of the night to say that such and such a person has died. And then you need to contribute money. And if you're not budgeting for it, if you don't have a black tax budget, then you're eating into your other savings. So I feel you need to identify who should absolutely depend on you if there's no other option, but then also find ways of empowering them. You know, if you empower them, they don't have to come back to you every time. Yeah, I think that's my 2 cents on that question, Inonge.
Inonge, I'd like to add to
Okay.
that question. Everything Maureen said, 100%, 100 agree with. Actually, but I'd like to go back because the question you asked was Lara. So Lara was a lady who was an oil executive making money. She was very good at saving, very good at everything, right? But her brother, whom she was taking care of, was taking the right piss. Like he would, you know, quit school for a little bit and say he wants to be a footballer at 25. At the age of 25 years old, he wants to go into professional football, which is ridiculous. And the sister had no idea. And then she kicked him out. He went back to his mom, and the mom came with the brother begging, to the extent where the mom used guilt on Lara by prostrating herself on the floor to her own child. So obviously Lara felt guilty. And I have found that in my own family dynamic, that was happening. So this is what I wanted to talk about from the perspective of black tax. That not only entitlement that our families feel, but that guilt that we also feel for not helping. So sometimes you could have the budget and you could have everything, but because again, you haven't dealt with the root problem, which is the actual family, you haven't had conversations. I think one other issue we have as Black people is putting things under the carpet. Like we like to put, we all know the elephant in the room, but we don't talk about it. Why? Because it's my mom or it's somebody older. I shouldn't talk about it to them because then they'll be angry. No, they love you. They'll be angry, but they'll get over it. This is one thing I learned for myself this year. So in my family this year, I'm going to put it out there. I know everyone's going to watch this, but I sat down everyone and I had a conversation with my brothers and sisters and my mother. And I said, listen, I love you all so much, but none of you are my children. And they were like, what? How can you talk to us like that? I'm like, no, I do. And I'm not coming from like a very like horrible perspective or trying to insult anybody, but it's just so that you can understand my point of view. I am, you know, this age and I am here in my life. This is how much I have. This is how much debt I have. I laid it all out to them. Something I think we all fail to do. Because when we think of debt, we feel shame. Like, oh, they'll know how much like money I owe. So I let them all know, like, this is how much debt I have. This is how much I'm working to pay off by the end of this. I want it all done. You know, this is what, whenever you've asked me for money, like last month, this is how much it set me back for. When you do this, this is how it makes me feel. All of a sudden, when somebody who I don't even remember that he's my uncle dies, this hurts my mom's feelings, of course, when I say something like that, like, you know, I was like, no, but it's the reality. Some of the uncles, I haven't seen them since I was a baby. I don't even know them. I'm sorry, but I shouldn't have to be paying for their funeral. Mom was like, no, you're becoming too Western. I was like, okay, mom. Like one thing I've learned as well is that as we grow older, both children and parents teach each other, you know, and it's okay. You don't have to hold on to the old view of, you know, just because like you're part of the family, you have to contribute something. You don't. If it's not within your budget, if it's not something you plan for, you don't, even if you have the money, you don't have to give it. You know, even God helps those who help themselves. Even God tells you that money is for protection. And if you have an emergency fund which protects you in case of anything, where's the sense in that? And then you're going to blame God. you know. And after having this conversation, I gave examples, I talked to them, and I said, for this number of months, I'm not helping nobody. Don't even come to me. And there's a reason. I have decided that I'm creating a black tax fund for my family. And this thing is what I'll be putting like shares and stuff into. And this, what I'll do is every year I will create a budget. So mom needs £2,000 or 3,000 or whatever, or 1,000. My brother is most likely maybe 500 because it's every now and then. My sister, who I help consistently, maybe whatever, you know, every month, this is what I'll be giving. And that fund is what will be helping like pay off. So it doesn't even go into my savings. Like I don't even think about it because like Inonge said, or I can't remember who said her husband, you know, Melissa, I think her husband taught her how to budget.
It was younger.
It was who?
Younger.
Younger, yeah. You know, her husband taught her how to save, and just that money goes straight away. And that's how I felt like I hacked black tax. In this year, I had some family members die. And I want you guys to know this, that when you start budgeting and you start saving, right, it's not just a financial health thing that you're doing, you're also trying to change your mindset. So you would have been reading books, listening to podcasts, and it doesn't mean that just because now you've started saving, like Zuri, you will fall back sometimes, which is okay, which I did fall back. So somebody died, so 2 people died twice, so I can't even remember. Mom made me feel sad, and I was like, okay, you know what, fine, it's death, what can I do? Then the third time I was like, no, I'm not having it. I'm sorry. It's so sad. Unfortunately, it's not within my budget. I was very honest. And I just said, look, it's the discussion that we had last time. So unfortunately, in this period, I can't actually help. And guess what? The funeral happened. The person was buried and it all went okay. So at the end of the day, I feel like your true family knows your real intentions. They know when you've really done help, when you know, those who will, even within your own family, please remember that there are people who are toxic. And at the end of the day, as much as we love our families, on this earth, you are an individual. And I'm not saying that you're an individual in all senses. As Black people, African people, Ubuntu is part of our daily lives. Like we want community and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when you look at Zuri, Lara, Tammy, all of them, the behaviors that they portrayed are not just about money. It affects every area of your life. It affects your relationships, your mental health. How many of us can say we haven't had a sleepless night because you're just thinking, how am I going to pay those bills? Oh my God, I don't even have money in case mom got sick or something happened. What do I do? How many of us can say they've never had that? Most of us here have. And if you do not prepare yourself mentally, protect yourself mentally, sometimes it requires you to do that even from your own family. And sometimes, most of all, it requires discipline, not sometimes. Every time it requires discipline. And being disciplined with yourself begins with boundaries you set for you. You have to set your own boundaries. And even when you find yourself, catch yourself going over those boundaries, you can bring yourself back because you know, that's my boundary and I'm not crossing it anymore. So, yeah, that's my about that.
Yeah, I think the first step, like you said, is to decide that you want to change, because first of all, you have to identify the problem. You know that, okay, you have a problem. Once you identify the problem, you take a step. And, you know, there were a lot of aspects in the book where they were talking about networking, creating new relationship. Your network is your net worth, and just doing things one step at a time that will lead you into the direction of you changing your financial position. I mean, before I read what's in the chat, I mean, like I've been posting this for a long time on my group, on my WhatsApp, on my social media. And when I look at the attendance here, I've already seen 3 of my clients who, you know, already have investments going, and which means they are still trying to make their financial positions better. Where if I had to tell you how many inboxes I receive every day on my Facebook of somebody who is, you know, in an abusive marriage, has got no money, someone who's broke, someone who's got, you know, loans left, right, center, what advice do they need? But I can't see any of those people on this session right now. So I think for me, it's really a decision. If you decide that you want to change your financial position, become better, you have to equip yourself with every good book and every session. This is free. We're not charging anyone anything, even though we had to pay to get on the Eventbrite, but we are like, you know, sharing is caring. So I think once you make a decision, then you take the steps in the right direction, and yeah, you change, but you fall back as long as you know which direction you're headed. So yeah, Sheila says, hi everyone, glad to be here, learning a lot. I'll be honest, I haven't read the book, looking forward to reading it. Muma, hoping you still share the book. I had been quite broke for a while. My husband used to make statements like, you can't afford this, look at your life. So when I managed to get an income, I was like spending and spending some more to compensate for what I could not afford previously. But I realized that what Amanda said, and I'm working on investing what I have. My family has been the comfortable with what we have. Money is not everything kind of people, but I have to change my story and have a different experience, plan and do better, because there's more to life. So here to learn. So glad to have you, Sheila. I think that's powerful that, you know, you realize that you need to change, you know, to make changes. That also actually takes me to the character in the book. Was it, how do I pronounce it? Ladun? The Ladun, yes, the housewife. You know, obviously the circumstances are different, but for Ladun, she was a housewife, a rich housewife, and you know, she used to have an allowance every month from the husband, and that was actually family wealth. It was family wealth. She was married into a very wealthy family. They were living, everything was paid for. And then life happens, you know, the father-in-law dies. She's never saved any money. She loves shopping. She loves Chanel and all that. So what Sheila just posted there just took me back to that character where even there's nothing wrong with, you know, marrying a rich man and being a rich housewife. There's nothing wrong with that. If you meet a rich husband, you don't have to do anything. I mean, I wish I could trade my life and do yoga in the morning, but I have to work. There's nothing wrong as long as you're smart. So if you're blessed to be married, I don't know if I should call it a blessing, I don't know. But if you find yourself in that situation, you're getting an allowance every month. You need to look at options. What options are there? What can I do with my money? Because you can't just take it for granted that you're going to have that money all the time. You're not the sole earner of that money. Your husband could die. You know, the father-in-law died. And then what happens after that? So if you have access to money, wherever it comes from, you need to invest. You need to think about, I might not have this money in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years. And then in the end, you might not even be able to sell those Chanel bags and those expensive clothes that you have, you know, because maybe the people you are surrounded with don't even know the value. And then you have to go back to just living on memories. Yeah, so for me, I think whatever circumstances you have, whether you work, you don't work, make sure that you are getting that money and investing it, saving, having emergency fund and all those things that were mentioned in the book. Yeah.
Can I just say Ladun's story quickly for those people who haven't read the book? So Ladun is the rich housewife, but in the story, her husband is like third or fourth generation, you know, wealthy, and everyone knows who Chief is. Chief is her husband's father, and Chief happens to die. And there's a scene where they're all sitting in the living room, and Chief's wife, her two sons, Chief's sisters, they're all in the living room waiting for the lawyer to read the will. And before the lawyer reads the will, he says, I've got something to tell you all, unfortunately. And they're all like, what do you mean, unfortunately? And he goes, well, Chief was broke. They couldn't believe it. Because imagine, this is a man who owned he owned malls, hotels. I mean, he owned like the government pretty much. Like the president was his you know, speed dial. Like everyone knew him. He was, I think, like one of the wealthiest people at his golf club and stuff like that. So when the lawyer was telling them that he was broke, they couldn't understand it. So when the lawyer did eventually understand, like break down how Chief was broke, he said, well, Chief was the kind of person who didn't have a proper accountant. That's how he always did business. So even though he became very wealthy, what Chief would do would be people would come to him, random people. Oh, I need
What?
business. Sorry. Oh, I need money for a business, and he would give them money for a business. And I think at the end he invested in something that went awfully wrong. I think he invested a lot of money, and at the end he ended up having to like use his businesses as collateral. And because he used his businesses as collateral, they owned nothing. So imagine being wealthy by name, which is pretty much when you compare Chief and Zuri, that's kind of the story. On the outside, they both look like they have it, but they have nothing.
Mm.
Better to be wealthy internally than to look like you're wealthy, or even if it's health as well. Isn't it better to look healthy, to actually be healthy and not looking on the outside than look healthy but you're actually rotting on the inside? That's pretty much what's happening on both Chief, who was a very ultra wealthy person, a high net worth 1%, and then you got Zuri, who is just starting off. But their stories are similar when I've just thought about it now. When you look at their comparisons, it's the same thing. They both were acting and looking rich, but they weren't.
I wanted to say something based off
Sure.
of the childhood bit, that the child, like, I really like what Muma said about understanding that sometimes your money problems are based off of your childhood and how you were exposed to money. My dad lived a life of debt. He was a person who, the bailiffs came and took the double door fridge when I was pretty young. Like, there were just so many things that didn't make sense to me. I'm just like, but you're a parent, you're supposed to know better, do better, handle your finances better. And I guess with growth, you get to understand that sometimes, like we've rightly understood here, planning, budgeting, sticking to your budget, setting boundaries are things that people fail to do. However, my point was simply going to be that I also learned earlier on in life that you are, what can I say? You obviously you are responsible for your own decisions, but also life offers you two sides each time. I always like to say that life is a coin. I could simply be the person who decides that, okay, debt is all I knew. That's gonna be my life, But from the way I saw it affect our finances at home, our livelihood, basically, I decided for myself that I wasn't going to do that. I remember mentioning this to Chulu, and I'm like, you really get to choose the outcome that you want for your life, because at the end of the day, what happened in your past will be a trauma and you can decide how to deal with it. But also, I also believe that regardless of what you've gone through, you decide your story. And for me, it's a debt-free life. I have vowed, I'm like, Lord, I know it's hard because it's tempting, especially like if I'm to be genuine, Lusaka life is so tempting. I was telling you as well that I need to find a blesser, but obviously I said it jokingly, but because, like, there's so much out there. And our needs never end. There's always something, rather our wants, excuse me. Your wants never end. They've got an endless list. It's like, okay, yeah, I think I want that pair of shoes. Or I think I want that dress. I want. But then it also comes back to eventually what kind of life you want for yourself, and you taking the decisions, you being intentional, you taking the steps towards bettering yourself, so that at the end of the day, you are the person who your parents can say, oh no, like my mom was, my mom is strict with money, she set boundaries and all that stuff, or my aunt or my sister. I like what you did, Muma, like sit your parents down or your relatives and said, I'm not your parents. I did that to my dad when I was working, he was like, no, can you send me some money? And I'm like, nah, bruh, you had your money. I need to focus on my life now. Like, as mean as it sounds, I think the one thing that our generation, like the past generation, doesn't understand is you are able to be frank, obviously respectful, and let them know that I need to start focusing on my life. And you are not selfish for doing that. You are literally just, because you have a life and you have a whole idea of how you want your life to plan out. You want to have kids. You can't, like Lara was, she's trying to be a boss chick or a boss babe, but she finds herself in situations where she has a stuck up, entitled brother who wants to do football and a mom who emotionally guilt her. You need to realize at the end of the day that those people are always going to be there, but you need to stand your ground. You need to say no, and you need to be okay with your decision. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
There's a point on this piece of paper that just actually says what you've said. Success is deeply rooted in being able to articulate what you want and the solid plan to get it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's literally what you've just said, but I think it also means not just articulating it like this is what I want out into the universe. Actually tell the people you love, like Maureen,
Yeah.
the people you support. Say to them, personally, I think that's what really lacks. The real conversations between us. You can have all the, like, even though I was saying like think for yourself, but no man is an island. And as Africans,
Mm-hmm.
we know we always have so many people to support. And I think in reality, don't just talk about money to yourself and to your investment advisor. Talk to your family. Let them know the reality of where you are in life. Let them know the reality of how much help you give them. I once dated a guy who failed to tell his mother that he had lost his job for 6 months. I was just looking at him like, houseway, how are you going to keep this on? Your mom expects you to be helping her out. And I'm very sure she's your mother. If you told her the reality of what's going on with you, she would understand and give you respite to breathe. But you're not, you think that keeping up appearances, and I feel like the keeping up appearances again goes back to cultural. In African communities, we have this very huge thing about shame. Don't bring shame on our family. Don't bring shame on your name as a man. Don't bring shame on your name as a woman. And it's kind of fecal because at the end of the day, you're a human being. You are bound to fail. So you will lose a job. You will be demoted a little bit, maybe earning less. You will make mistakes with your budget. You're going to encounter so many mistakes. And the people you love should be the people you're able to tell the honest truth about what's going on. So
I agree. Can I just say, yeah, I agree a lot with what everyone has said. Just another thing as well. I mean, let's be honest here. Like everyone here, like everyone works hard. So it's also like you don't want to also, I don't know, like like kill yourself by not spending. Do you know what I mean? Like we will spend at the end of the day. So I think another way, like I have a friend, like he's from Philippines as well. So he lives in South Africa. So this guy, he's one of those guys that looks for, like discounts, like your points, cash savings, and all like payback. It's like if you like swiping a lot, which is something I also plan on doing. Like I don't do enough. Like just the like how you pay for stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like how how you pay. Like do you get points when you use your card? Do you pay with cash? You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Like that's also like another effective way of, especially if you like buying stuff, like maybe spend more time, especially now like in an online world, like like finding the best store to pay maybe the least amount of cash for the same stuff that you're gonna buy. Not always going to like the physical store and spending money where you won't even get any points, or you know what I mean. Like I have friends that like like they like they'll use like credit card but not really, like their salary will go into like like a credit card type account. So when they pay, they use their credit card and get points. So when it's time to book their holidays at the end of the year, like they literally get almost like half price for flights basically from what I mean. Like just finding effective way to buy certain things, I think could also help us quite a lot with
That's such a
expenses.
good point. So you're talking about like if you have an Amex card, for example, and you
Yes,
Maureen, you could actually use your when you get your pay, your money can be loaded into your Amex card or whatever card you use that gives you points. And every time you
yeah,
pay, you fly Emirates, you actually
yeah,
free tickets, like they're
yeah, exactly,
free
exactly.
miles. It's so true. It's such a clever
Yeah,
thing to do. So also beyond credit cards, you can just look within your city or your country that you live in. So you've got places like ShopRite. ShopRite will have deals with particular companies. You can see who their partners are and what points you get. And if you shop at ShopRite all the time using a card from Pick and Pay or from
yeah,
Pep or whatever, you might get free shopping from Pep. So if you've got kids, you might end up like having uniforms for free and things like that. Those are
yeah,
cool tricks that you can use in the long run to and another
yeah.
one last thing, one little trick I started doing and it's working. I started buying stocks last year. And how I started buying stocks, obviously stocks are not for everyone because sometimes people are afraid. So you can start very small. how I started buying stocks is I started buying stocks based on what I spend on. So for example, I know I love like shopping at New Look or certain particular websites, certain things. I know that I use Eon as electricity. So what I did is I would buy like £500 worth of shares from Eon. And so that money is done. Like that's the money I've saved to buy those shares. At the end of the year, I'll get maybe £200 of dividends from those stocks. Literally, that's compounded interest. So compounded interest is interest on interest. So I'll never take that £500 out. I will just keep that interest that I get from Eon. I either reinvest it back into the stocks, or I get that money and it pays for my electricity bill for the year. So I am literally using their own money that I've earned to pay my bills. So this is how I've bought certain shares. I've bought them based on the bills that I pay. And that is literally paying for itself. So that's a really good way as well, kind of like what Putty's saying to save. So yeah, Chulu was gonna say something.
I think Chulu wanted to say something. Chulu, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. So just in response to having frank conversations with your family, I just want to say that sometimes it will take a while for your family to actually understand what you're talking about, because I'm just going back to the whole denial thing. For example, like recently, I was asked for certain funds and I said to them, listen, I don't have any money or whatever. I explained the situation. I don't have money to contribute. And then 2 days later, it's like, oh, so you'll be able to contribute by next week. I'm like, we just had a conversation about this. Like, I'm pretty sure I was in the room and you were also there, So I think, yes, you can have, those types of conversations with people, with your family and the people you care about, but then to also just keep in mind that it can take some time for them to actually begin to understand what you're talking about. And when you say a no, like no is a full sentence, So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point, Chulu. It needs to be done. It's uncomfortable, but it needs to be done. I would rather be known as, the stingy, difficult person in the family, because I know I've got children, and a lot of us grew up, I'm sure a lot of people can relate, where maybe your parents kept some people, you had to give up your bedrooms to sleep in the sitting room when visitors were visiting. But when those people grew up and got jobs, they probably never even helped your parents. And as a result, a lot of people are not given the right, childhood that they deserve, because they always had to look after people. And if you don't change it, if you don't put a stop to it, the circle is just going to continue. For me, my children will not leave their bedrooms for anybody. And, if they won't, I'm not going to do that. And I'm working for my children. I want my children to have a bright future. I want them to go to good schools. And, in return, I'm also working for myself. I have a good life, I've got a decent life. I love nice things, and I don't want to retire and start having memories of how good life was when I was working. Because I know that now that I'm working, I've got 8 hours of sleep, I've got 8 hours of leisure, I've got 8 hours of work. So in that work right now, that money that I'm making needs to ensure that I make use of it to plan for my future, so that when I retire, I can still play golf, I can still drink my wine, I can still travel. So I think it's a very uncomfortable conversation that needs to be had. And if the family doesn't take it well, tough, it needs to be done. Yeah. Can we talk about Edesua, the lawyer? The one that
Because I can't, I don't like it.
I mean,
I'm triggered by that girl.
I was so triggered. I think a lot of people are triggered, but please, somebody can go first, I think.
tell the
that
story
happens a
for
lot.
those who haven't.
Yes,
Okay, so for
Inonge.
me, oh,
Yes,
sorry.
right.
Go ahead.
I think for her, it's the typical African story of
Yes.
at what ichupo or something. Wherever you have to pampamina for your chupo and stay and look like a fool.
God forbid.
Then
And she really did make a fool out of herself, despite her education and her degree, which really
Imwe?
off. She knew better, but decided not to until it was too late. And
But it's culture.
it's
It's
exactly
it's
it's
culture.
rated enough to say you stick into it. And but the other thing that intrigued me about the whole story was these are discussions that we don't have. So when you get married, they teach you about all these bedroom antics that you're supposed to be doing, huh? But no one is teaching you about the finances and how you could possibly, if you wanted, keep separate accounts for yourself, even if you decide to have joint accounts, just on the safe side. They say, and that guy,
for those who don't
he
understand,
turned out to be, he's not your friend because he had his own ulterior motive.
Agendas.
Yes, and it's a thing about individuals. You know, when you're getting married to someone, you have different goals, you have different agendas of life. And when you don't sit down and discuss these things, such things happen. Or any situation can happen is you, and you take it as a woman to say, you know what, I'm supposed to take the back seat because he's the head of the home, yada 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 yada. He's giving you one story or another of how one big deal is going to come, and it's very typical of men to give you, no, babe, there's a deal that's coming. Just wait. I'll settle you, all those things. So for me, it's a discussion that needs to be had with our children, especially our girl children, but even the boy child as well, in the event that the roles are reversed. And you know, it was very sad to see, but I remember once having a conversation where my aunt simply said, Vama joint account in a vow poba.
it means, guys who don't understand what she's saying, it means
Okay.
Mbozi, you have to translate. There are people from other countries.
Meaning, having joint accounts is stupid, right? And she was saying it not from a bad perspective, but from a banker's point of view, because she saw women actually going through the same things that this lady went through, where you have a joint account and this man keeps withdrawing money without you knowing, and it's because it's on a trust basis. So when you don't have clear boundaries of what is and what isn't, and you can't like really speak up your mind on finances, I think that's where the issue stems from. And also our culture, we just need to start talking about it and say, look, finances are like this. And if you go beyond this, there should be consequences even as a couple. That's my two cents on that.
I think from a financial advisor perspective, I have to comment on the joint account being stupid. Not, I think joint accounts are only stupid if you're a Desua and married to a Desua's husband, Soji. There is absolutely nothing. So was it Soji? So there's absolutely nothing wrong with a couple planning together, having joint investments, but you also need to have your own personal investments aside. It also takes a lot of trust, working together, so that let's not rule that out. There are some people that have made it work, but if you have a husband like Soji, and you know, one thing that amazes me about Edesua is in the book, they didn't bring out this in the series, but in the book, if they did, I think I missed it. In the book, she was telling Zuri that she should not be living in an expensive neighborhood, driving an expensive car, because she's going to chase away men. She was constantly telling her that she needs to downplay her success, you know, in order to attract a man. And as a result, she attracted somebody who was taking advantage of her. I think it happens a lot where, you know, women I don't know about other African countries, but in Zambia, a lot of women want to downplay what they have. And sometimes they'll buy themselves a car and tell their friends that my husband bought me a car. I think you shouldn't have to downplay your success for anybody. If you're single, if I'm downplaying my success, then I'm just ready to settle for less. I should be able to show up, and this happens. I actually have a colleague, I don't want to call her a friend, because after that conversation, we just, you know, we just realized that I realized that we have different values, because she was telling me, you see, the problem with you is you post everything, you are traveling, you're checking in, you're posting your champagne. I act like a damsel in distress. I act like I don't have anything, and that way men spoil me, they buy me perfume. I'm like, hell no. I'm not going to downplay myself and pretend that because you go on about, yes, you're a boss lady, you're driving a Mercedes Benz, and as a result, men will think you have it all. I said, no, there will be men who have more than me. Right? I'm not going to downplay my success, because if you do that, then you are ready to settle. You know, you're settling for less, and as a result, you want somebody who's just slightly higher than you. So someone who has more than you should show up. They should show up. They should see that Muareen likes expensive wine. So if I approach her, I better match her expensive wine. You know, Muareen is traveling around the world, so I should be able to match up. So I think for me, Edesua, because she was downplaying that, and as a result, she met somebody who was taking advantage of her. In the book, it also says that she was building a house for his mother. You know, yeah, she was building a house for his mother, and she was actually defending that and saying, you see, my husband is just, you know, in between contracts. He got a loan from the bank. She had to pay for that loan, and she was building a house for his mother. Her friends were telling her, why are you building a house for his mother? That's his job. You know, the Bible clearly says a man is a provider, a woman is a helper. I might be a modern woman, but I'm very traditional on that aspect. And if you don't match up, goodbye.
And a man can provide for his family.
What Muareen has said, I think when Zuri met the other gentleman, the new boyfriend, I like the discussion that they were having serious talks about finances. And irrespective of what his financial situation was, he was also very frank to be able to tell her what was, even though she got offended. And I think that's what the other lady was not able to do, because the man was a bit manipulative when she wanted to start talking about finances. And he would do certain statements that are very common to say, so you think because you have a lot of money, you can run the house. And even the statement that the mother-in-law had made to say, you are the head of this home, you can do anything. Those are very common statements that we tend to hear, and very honest discussions that we tend to see with Zuri and her current boyfriend.
But you see, Tombozi, the reason why her mother-in-law was treating her like that is because she was downplaying her success. So the mother is thinking, my son, this is my son's house. Because you're showing the world that my husband is so successful, he provides for me, and he does everything. And then the mother comes to visit, and you want to stress him about, where have you been? This is his house. You're the man of the house. And yet she's the one who's paying all the bills. So I'm sorry, if you're not paying the bills, I'm not going to rub your ego and show the world that, oh no, he bought me a car, he did this. No, I think that's where we get it wrong. And that's where Edesua got it wrong. And in the end, he was cheating with her money. You know, with her money. Buying people expensive alcohol, Hennessy, with her money. Like,
big buy, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I just want to say that, adding on to what Muareen has rightly said, it's also a lack of boundaries, because at the end of the day, when you're a team, the husband should be able to not necessarily put his mom in her place, but let her understand that you're a team, and so everything you do together. Now, I wanted to say, Puji, I'm sorry, I'm about to say something that may rub you off the wrong way, but I think that our culture, the African culture, and I'll be more particular, the Zambian culture, will forever worship the ground that the patriarchy walks on. Like, I believe that it's like women are, well, women, older women of the past or the previous generation believes that women were born or made to serve the man. You know what I mean? It's like, man can do no wrong. And even when he does wrong, you are blamed. Like, no, maybe you didn't cook properly or you didn't iron his clothes. Like, basically, a man cannot be seen to do any wrong. You know what I mean? And for me, Adesua triggers me in the sense that every time when like her friends wanted to give her advice, they would say things, she would say like, no, you haven't been married yet, you understand. But you know, the Bible also does say that it's the older women's responsibility to teach the younger people. So what are they teaching me in that situation? That like literally what Muareen said, I should downplay my success to stroke your ego. That's not what life is about. At the end of the day, we fight for equality as women, yes, but like Muareen said again, the man is the provider. And that's why Soji's ego was usually trampled on, because he wasn't able to provide. That's when he resorted to emotional blackmail and literally just downright disrespect. You know what I mean? And for me, like she downplayed who she was so much so that I actually wanted to stop watching it. I'm like, what is this woman doing? You know, like, and like I think Muma said, she would go on and tell her friends, no, you need to like downplay your success, you need to attract a man. I've come to realize that at the end of the day, everyone has their class, and people put on Facebook like, no, you women who are out here in clubs demanding expensive bottles, sunshine and all that stuff, they're like, no, at the end of the day, we all have our classes. If you can't match my class, go elsewhere. Go find the girl who's good
next
with
door.
drinking. You know what I mean? And if you think I'm a lot, go find less. That's simply what life is. So you will find a man who will match your success and you'll be happy. The fact that people feel like you have to downplay who you are to attract a man. You see, again, the patriarchy is winning. It's never, no, step up so that you can meet her where she is. It's no, which man will marry you? Please, I also deserve someone to match my success.
Can I just say?
Add to that. And say something, I think, for a while. Go on.
Yeah. For me, what is so upsetting about Adesua is how she has basically put herself in a prison because she's put marriage on a pedestal. You know, business of saying that no, because okay, I'm going a bit also into the second book. If you're not aware, there's a second book, but she was very against being a single person. Like she found so much value, like the value that she found in herself was in that identity of being a married woman. So just the thought of being, you know, out there labeled as a single person, whether it's a divorced person or whatever it is, she just couldn't take it. And she was not, it was basically a situation of, I would rather be with this horrible person who has done so much to me instead of being single. And that really just blew my mind, that someone can put themselves in such a prison because marriage is so put up on this pedestal, like it's such a I don't know, a wonderful diamond castle or something like that, but it's not, and she's suffering. Anyway, and I think it just goes back to the whole thing about culture and how much you know, how much value society puts in, oh, this one is a married person, but then when you're a single person and maybe a certain age, then you know, your opinion is not as important, or you don't have as much say in your family,
or something is wrong with you.
Yeah, something's wrong with you and all of that kind of stuff. So, you know, here you are finding women, whole educated women, putting themselves in prisons with fools just because they have to have the name of Mrs. Nonsense. I'm sorry, this man triggers me.
Yeah, I think the issue, like I stated, the issue started from the beginning, where she believes that she to the outside world, she should not be seen to be more successful than her husband or than a man. So she should always downplay her success to stroke a man's ego. That's what the problem was, because now she couldn't for a long time freely tell her friends or anybody else of the situation. So she was just, you know, feeling this whole, and she doesn't know who she is without him, because she needs to be married, and then she needs to pamper this man's ego and show everybody else that everything is smooth, and you know, he's doing a contract, even when she knew that, you know, even when she knew that he's lying, he's not going to a business meeting. She knew that for a long time. She was in denial. And her friends, in the book, it even says that her friends used to meet the husband everywhere, you know, with girls, and she was probably the only person who was in denial, thinking, oh, maybe it's what I did, maybe he's, you know, it's because he doesn't have a job, it's because he's working on this contract, things are going to get better. But trust me, even if Soji actually did get a job or did his business went through, his behavior was not going to change, because she already accepted the way he was treating her. So for me, I think the issue there is never downplay your success to stroke a man's ego. That is a no-no, because then people just tramp all over you. But then we have a man who wanted to say something. Maybe let's hear it from a man's perspective.
No, like I would.
Yeah, let's hear it from a man's perspective.
I think I would need a lot more men to go deep, but I'll just a question, like I don't know how.
Deep, we don't care.
No, no, it's like I don't I don't know how it is in Zambia. Like I don't know if you ladies have noticed, if you look at like the rise of like the middle class, like for me it feels like a lot more like black ladies are like excelling at a rapid pace, like more than men, basically. Like in South Africa, if I look at my profession, like a lot more black ladies like excel. So now, if you ladies feel like, for example, it's like dating a man that's making less than you is settling. So now what happens when, you know, like the numbers is like double the men, like in future? Now, who are you going to marry, babe? Like, who are you going to date? If we feel like
we'll make specimens for ourselves, don't worry.
I think sorry, Puti, I think the issue really is not that we don't want to date or marry men that make less. I think that's not the issue.
Yeah.
The issue is, I mean, if you are comfortable and you're confident as a man that you can make it happen, I don't think that should be a problem. The issue here was having to downplay our success because, you know.
Can I just say, it's like that is never like a lady, like I don't know if I think it's also hard for ladies to see, but if you look at like the type of treatment that guys receive from dating, let's say like a lady that makes the same as you or more, it's a lot different to a lady that's dating like a rich guy, for example. Like you deal, as coming from a man, you'll deal with a lot more stress, and like a relationship is more likely to.
From my friend just last week.
Yeah.
Go on.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it's just a different. It's not so much that guys hate dating women with more. It's just that it's the type of attitude from women that you get from dating someone that's not all ladies, obviously, but it's just the difference in treatment guys get from. I don't know, like if it makes sense, but you guys won't see it because you're ladies. You know what I mean? Like,
I think I know what what you're trying not to say.
Yeah. I have a friend who said what he's saying right now, just last week. And this friend basically said that normally when a woman starts earning more or earns more than a guy, because we have the need or the expectation for security, which comes with financial and everything else, when a man is not like pulling his weight financially, we, without even thinking about it, unconsciously tend to be disrespectful towards that man. That's what my friend said, and I have to agree with him to an extent. And this is the extent that I'm going to agree with him on.
But you know what, Mama?
There's a saying, no, let me finish. There's a saying where it says that a woman cannot date down, and I agree with this. If you've been with guys who treated you a certain way, you're used to a certain lifestyle, it's very difficult. I mean, there are women who can, but even then they're kind of lying. But the reality is it's difficult for them to date down. So when you do meet a guy, even if you have love for him, love itself is not enough to keep you in that relationship. Why? Because God put the need in us for us to want to be protected and sheltered and taken care of. And God put it in men the need for them to be the hunter, to be the protector. And that is why somehow a lot of men also feel inferior. Even if the woman is not necessarily treating him bad, sometimes the man may feel like, I don't want to use her car. I don't want her telling me that I can use her car. Even if she sees you as an equal, sometimes you will suffer from that, because it's supposed to be the provider, and you're not doing it. And then from the female perspective, she may have respect for you, but it will run out. Trust and believe. At some point, it'll be like, I love you, but she doesn't even realize it going down. And it's because of how we're created. You have to.
I totally agree.
Better. It's the truth.
For me, I think that with the way women are taught, women are brought up, I think for a woman to get to a point where they are disrespecting the husband or the partner, it just means that, it's just reached a different level. Mainly, this Edesua's character happens a lot, where a woman will put up with a lot and will big up a man who's not doing anything until when it reaches a point where maybe this man disrespects her, he cheats, maybe he really doesn't have direction. I've been married before, so I'm speaking from, I've been there, I'm married, single, been everything. So the way our culture is, as a woman, you're really taught to respect your husband. So when it reaches a point where you're saying that men feel, they can't date somebody with money because of the way you're treated, I think that treatment is triggered. Personally, that's what I think. And from what I've seen around, it's triggered because then you've reached a point where you are giving this person a chance, you're making the money. And if someone is respectful and they've got a vision, a woman doesn't have a problem even getting a loan or giving him the money to start up the plan. But if that man does not respect you, why am I the one coming home late from the office and I come home, I still have to cook, and you are out there every other day? I'm getting calls from my friends. I'm being told, oh, I saw your husband in Chicago, and yet I'm the one bringing the money home. Then it has to stop.
Maureen,
then I'm sorry, I'm not respecting you.
And I think there's two things that we're talking about. One, which is what you're talking about, which is where you're in a mutual relationship but one partner is disrespectful. I agree with you. Where the partner is respectful, it's true, a relationship is regardless of what you earn. But on the other hand, what follows saying and what I mentioned, there is a factor where even if there is mutual respect, right, and somebody's not cheating, the question is the length of time that it takes. So let's say the acrimony example, right? This man has been out of a job for 20 years and you have been the breadwinner. Of course, it's going to be very, very difficult for you. And sometimes there will be moments, even where you don't think about it yourself, where there's like how you feel towards the fact that you're the main provider, when we all know that normally a man should be the main provider.
Okay, Muma, what about a situation where, like, say for instance, The Crown, where you are the queen, you own everything, you're literally a leader of a country, and then you have a man who obviously earns less than you do. What happens? And look at how Queen Elizabeth handled Prince Philip. There was a strength play there, but she respected him at every turn. And if you've watched the movie, we've seen that there were incidents of infidelity even there, but even he respected her, and there were challenges even in that relationship, but they managed to work things out because he understood his place. She was the monarch. You know what I mean? And I agree totally with what Maureen submitted. I think the biggest challenge is a man's ego in most instances where he's the one that takes the lower path, especially where he's earning less money. But I think that when a woman is taken care of, she's getting good sex, you know, there's food on the table, even if she's the one that's cooking it, this guy is amping her up. A woman will go to great lengths to preserve his ego, you know, and even do what Maureen has said, where she'll basically not tell any single soul that it is because of her that they live in a mansion, that he's driving a nice car, etc. Nobody will know any of those things if she's getting what she needs from that man. But if he's going to go around making her look foolish, there's absolutely no way she's going to respect him. And you see, I think to an extent, the biggest issue that most women have is lack of self-esteem. Most of us are moving around waiting for the world to love us, you know, driven by other people's opinion of who we should be. And I think that when you know who you are, you set specific boundaries. And even a man who's in your life will not be confused about what he can do and what he can't do. Because he will know, if I can do this, this one will leave me. And when you have set a boundary and told him, look, I can't go beyond this, and you stick to it, you deserve the respect. But if you're the kind of person who you say, oh, I'll leave you, he does whatever. Then you say, oh, I'll leave you. Why the heck should he respect you? Why? He won't respect you. You know what I mean? And it will continue and continue. It's different if you don't know. And I'm not saying that you should believe the world when they say, oh, this guy is going around, because you know, you don't know what the world is about. You know what I mean? People can tell you stories out of malice, whatever. But when somebody is disrespecting you, even to your face, you know, because you know what respect should feel like. And a relationship is there for a reason. You know what I mean? There's something that you must get out of it. I know there's like all of these books about 5 love languages, etc. But you can only be in a relationship and find fulfillment if you are getting what you need from that relationship. If someone doesn't even care, he's not there, he's busy out there, what are you doing in that relationship? Because that's the whole point of being with somebody. You know, it's different if you've made a plan and said, okay, dude, you need to up yourself and do blah, blah, blah. So I know that from this time to this time, you're going to be there and I'm willing to make that sacrifice. You've had that conversation. So even when the person is not there, you understand why. Not where you're also lost. Then at the end of the day, he gets all your money and leaves another woman. Come on. No way.
People triggered. I just want to say though, sorry, who was from speaking? Mutumu, right?
That's Mutumu, yeah.
Yes, Mutumu. I just want to say that at the end of the day, what you've said, like with regard to Queen Elizabeth and all that stuff, it comes back to the person's character, I've come to believe. You know what I mean? Because the truth of the matter is, I've also seen a situation where this lady is a boss babe and she's dating a man who doesn't have his life all figured out, but she loves him. You know what I mean? Like, no, this is my guy. He's trying to figure life out and I'm going to support him. But at no point do you see this woman disrespect the man. She's bringing home the bacon. He's home trying to figure life out for himself. But at no point do you see disrespect and all that stuff. But you can see a different situation where maybe these two are a couple and they're both bringing home the bacon. But because the lady, I would like to claim, feels some type of way, maybe like, for example, he gets home before her and he's waiting like for his wife to come and cook. It's a character thing. Because at the end of the day, you ask yourself, listen, I also put a 9 to 5. You know what I mean? You know I'm equally tired. Why aren't you cooking? Why aren't you making us a plan? Why aren't you ordering out? Why should I come home and be the one to cook? You know what I mean? And I'll give a perfect example. I've seen this with my sister and her husband. This is there because he understands that, no, my wife has been at work as well, or she's pulled a late night. No, she's going to come home tired. You know, he turns on the geyser. He cooks food for her. A different situation would be a husband and a wife, and the husband makes more and probably makes the wife feel like crap, you know? It's for me, I've come to realize it's a character thing. How were you raised? What do you hold dear? what do you prioritize? Do you know that your partner is also a human being who's deserving of being taken care of? I think for me, it ultimately also goes back to the fact that at the end of the day, like I said, men have been made to assume, well, some men rather have been made to assume that women live for them. Like, I live to serve you, I live to cater to you. While that's okay for some women who are comfortable doing it, I just feel like it's twofold. If you're gonna be the kind of woman who wants to cater to your man, don't complain about it. You know, find a man who loves to be catered to. And if you're a woman who decides that no, we are equals in this relationship, I work, you work, you're tired, I'm tired, let's help each other. Don't go and look down on women who want to cater to their husbands. Like, it's twofold. But at the end of the day, it's a character thing for me. Do you prioritize your partner the same way you want to be prioritized? Because when a man comes home from work, a late night, he expects to find his wife cooked food, hot on the table. You know what I like? It's a character thing for me. Yeah.
Could I just
Apart from a character thing, I also think it's a culture thing.
True.
We are taught how to treat a man with money, without money. A man is not taught how to treat a woman with money. He's taught how to treat a woman without money.
That's so true.
She's taught how
And
to be a
that's
provider.
So true. That is
exactly
so
so.
true.
And so you tend to see the different dynamics start to play because he's been taught in a different way. And like you said, there's an ego thing being played and all those things. And he really doesn't know what he should be doing in the event that he's not the one providing. There's a time that my father once told me this. He said, look, even if a man is not providing, he should be able to do something to help you in the home. So if
Of
you're
course.
going to come home late, at least let him find. You should find the dishes have been cleaned. You know what I mean?
At least massage my
House has
feet for
been
crying out
swept
loud.
or something. So men are not taught to cater to those things. It's different in the Western culture. I would say like they are no maids. So both of you become reliant on each other and bring each other's strengths and weaknesses. So if one partner is working, the other one is home taking care of business, and vice versa. In our African context, that is not the case. You have to find a plan B if you don't have a maid, or you do it all. Rarely do you find men that are going to say, oh, my wife is working late, the kids need to eat, and all that, and then they're able to step up. So it's a
The
characteristic thing,
culture thing.
a culture thing as well. So that's what we need to change.
Go on,
I'd like to
Brittany.
add my two
think
cents
what
to
you
it.
wanted
I
to.
think
Oh,
someone
yeah,
mentioned something about self-esteem. I think on that character, I forget her name again. I think it's a
Lara?
bad
Oh,
combination of other what?
Yes, one.
Adesua.
I think it's a bad combination of self-esteem, a lack of self-esteem, and also a bruised ego. I think that combination is really terrible, which is what I see in that relationship. Because I think, in as much as she's good with the finances, trying to put things straight and all, but how about the other aspects of her life? You know, when we talk about investment, when we talk about all savings and all of that, I think from the beginning of this conversation, there's so many things, there's so many aspects to consider. We've talked about black tax, we've talked about families, relationships around, and even other characters in the book, in the series. Other things can bring you down as well. So she may have been good about her finances, but how about applying some of those principles to the personal life? So I feel she and people in that situation just need to have boundaries. But I think those boundaries are so hard to set if the self-esteem is very low, because I just don't get that. Like someone said, like, I can't stand that either. because I just don't get how you can be this good
That's
on
the
this other side.
wrong
And then
thing.
you can take on, you know, you can take all of this baggage and be okay with it. You know, it's all about setting boundaries, putting value on yourself, and just
Yeah.
knowing that even in marriage, you're still an individual. If this person is not on board, she could be smart and do other things on her side and all of that. But then if you're dealing with your lacking self-esteem, and then here's a guy who has ego issues, very bad combination. And so it still
Yeah.
comes back to, we've talked about culture. I taught all these things, but I think also for us who are now talking about these things now, we really need to talk to our boy child, our boy children. We really need to, grow this in them, because this expectation, I mean, it's just a matter of nature. Even the Bible talks about providing. Maureen, you talked about that. The man being the provider. Nature in itself dictates that. So things change, dynamics change, but if it's a partnership, you must be able to work together. But what I've seen is that there's some men who just cannot take a woman well. I think it's a blessing sometimes if in your relationship there's at least one person that's doing well, but some men can't take it. So instead, they'll just play down on the woman's success, they'll just beat her down emotionally. And so you begin to feel worthless, yet you are the one that's providing in the home. And then the disrespect starts to rub on. He's disrespecting. And now even mother-in-law is also disrespecting and also, putting all this pressure on this person. Sometimes it's just because the guy just can't handle the coins turning. He's not able to provide. And so instead of appreciating this woman who's able to provide and sustain this life that they have, now he's downplaying and in fact bringing her down and using her money to disrespect her all around. So some people just can't handle being on the flip side of things. Yes, there's so much more that they can contribute, not monetarily and just still help out the family. But because his ego is, and then some people go out and look for, like him, look for other places or other people where they can look like they're the provider and, pump their ego a little bit because they can't take a woman being the provider. So I just sum that up as a very bad combination of self-esteem and ego issues, because respect has to be earned either way. But culture is also partly to blame, especially.
Yeah. I think before Puti comes in, he really wanted to say something. I had typed earlier on to say, I felt like she had an identity crisis. She did not know who she was. And that's the reason why when Chulu was talking, she touched briefly on the second part of the book, which I don't want us to discuss because I want us to come back for the second book and the second series.
You're all coming back.
We are all coming back to have this very interesting conversation. So I think if you don't know who you are, a man, not all men, but there are some men that are very selfish and they can work on your self-esteem to an extent that you start even doubting yourself and you start thinking, if I leave this man, nobody else is going to love me.
Imagine.
Like you really, like Mutumu is saying, she was an advocate and she was like defenseless. You're there to defend people. But this man has worked on your self-esteem that so much that she even starts apologizing. She's apologizing for asking him how he's spending her money. Yeah, apologizing for asking someone how did you spend all this money? And then he's just like, why are you bothering me? And then now she's apologizing, like, how do you apologize? That is your money. You wake up every morning to go to work and you're apologizing because you feel, you've hurt his ego. So I think you need, even as we get into these relationships, these marriages, everybody needs to know who they are. You need to take a step back and, know who you are and don't let anybody else make you question who you are. He's not God. He's not your father. So if you leave him, you're still going to leave. There was you before him, and there will be you after him. Everybody just needs to understand that you need to have an identity and don't allow anybody else to change that, to start thinking. Everybody else on the outside might be admiring you, like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. Oh my God, you've got this job. But when you come home, a home which is supposed to be a safe space, and you're feeling like you're nothing, like you're a nobody. So I really think identity is very, very important. Some men, I know you can go on, Puti.
Yeah. Oh no, I was gonna say, I think whatever story you guys are talking about, I think that could apply both ways. I think if it's obviously about like if you have self-respect and stuff, like you wouldn't, like most people unfortunately still like stay in relationship with their partner disrespecting them, exactly like you said, like out of fear of, like maybe you've been married to this person for like 10 years or whatever, or you've been dating this person for so long. So you do like maybe just deal with certain disrespect. But I don't think majority of men are like that. I mean, I could give you examples of ladies also taking advantage of, like a good-hearted man. For example, this one girl, like this man helped her, like through varsity, paid all her debt, and all he got was, divorce. And like his ex-wife like got pregnant like literally a month after, like he found out she was pregnant a month. I mean, like I can find stories. I can't project that onto you ladies now. Do you know what I mean? I think like we are kind of doomed in future. Like I think the more women become successful, maybe it's an ego thing for men, but I don't know if you've ever realized, it's like I watch a lot of sports. Like if you look at like athletes, like, like NBA players, NFL players, soccer players, all those guys, if you look at the type of, like women they make wives, for example, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think I know any of them that date like professionals, for example. You know what I mean? Like, it's just certain characteristics. I think when, like boss ladies, like when you become successful, like you develop certain characteristics that become turn off for men. I'm like, obviously, if especially if you're looking for someone with a lot of money, like you could literally become like a turn off basically for men. I know it's hard to, I don't know, to understand, but I'm coming from a man. I can tell you now, like it just
For us to
becomes.
understand, we're very intelligent women. We get what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. That's like it's a fact. Like it's true. Like it's. I mean, I don't think like I have a sister. Like I don't want her to be stupid and stuff. Like I want her to be like a strong lady, to what I mean, like excel and stuff. But I understand, like as a man, like if a man makes, like you might be dating someone, like say for example now, like with a huge potential, but you don't really know that man until he makes it. Basically, that's what I'm saying. Like
True
you'll
that.
find out the real person when they
That's
make.
why I say women shouldn't date down.
Yeah.
Women shouldn't and can't date down.
That's why I say get to the level that you. And also, can I just make a point based on what Pussy's saying? I was just having this discussion with my best friend this week. I was like, I really wish more women waited a little bit longer to get older to marry. Let me explain why. I feel like when a woman gets older, she reaches her self-actualization of who she is in terms of she gets to find out what she loves, what she doesn't love. She gets to find out not just from the perspective of money, I mean from the perspective of what she needs in a man, what she wants in a man, what she should, the boundaries she should have. But when you're younger, we are so, I was talking to Muareen about this as well before we had this discussion, that culturally, as young women, the things that we hear from our aunties, our parents are, if I brought a guy home, the first question I'll be asked is not, is he mentally okay? Is he sick? Does he treat, the first question we're all asked is, what does he do? Whether it's your family or your friends, very few people ask who he is as a person as the first question. It's always, what does he do? And what that does is it inculcates in our minds, in our subconscious mind, that the thing you should be looking out is for money. But I agree to an extent with what Putty is saying, but I believe that women should really try to wait as much as they can to understand themselves, to know themselves, love themselves. Because I think you then meet men who've reached your level, who have they've self-actualized as well. Because the point that you made is true. A lot of these young guys, they'll make so much money. They'll start off, I'm not gonna mention any names, but they'll start off like with poor girlfriends, and they finally get to the leagues in football,
I think we all know who you're talking about.
Shots fired.
Whatever. I'm not gonna mention no names, but they'll get to the NBA. They'll be doing big things, that one, and then when they've got there, you find that they're now dating a Latina girl. They're dating like all these BBL kind of girls and stuff like that. The same girls they used to say, oh, we don't like fake girls and all that stuff. Those are the kind of people they're dating. And I feel like, I don't know if it's the ego thing for some of the guys, because they feel like if they date a woman who is maybe less educated or less intelligent, I'm not saying that all the BBL women are dumb, but sometimes I feel like almost all women are highly intelligent. Even the ones that you think are dumb, they're highly intelligent. I feel like some just play the game of being dumb so that they can then be with this person who they feel the need to please all the time, because I think some guys like that idea of being pleased all the time. And that's where what Amanda was saying comes in. That's all nonsense. If you raise a young king who knows who he is, going to what Maureen was saying, who respects himself, loves himself, I believe in the law of attraction. He will attract friendships and women who he is, and they will respect those boundaries, and he will meet people who respect themselves too. And it's the same for women too. No matter how educated you get, if you are a person who respects yourself, loves yourself, whatever, you reach that level of loving yourself, both financially and everything, you will meet men who are at the same level as you. So for me, this is just what I believe.
Yeah, and I think as we are winding down, I think as women also, we need, can you believe it's already been 2 hours?
I know, it's been amazing.
So I think as women also, we need to get to a point where we get selfish. I know selfish is a bad word, but I really feel that a lot of men are very selfish. Men think about themselves first. If there is a job opportunity in another country, very few of them will turn it down because they're married, because they have children. They most of them wouldn't even think twice. Whereas women, you have to think what's going to happen to my family, what's going to happen to my husband, and maybe you're also thinking if you go to another country, you're opening it up there for him to have other women because of that culture aspect. So I really think that to some extent, men are selfish, and women, because we are, it's the way we were brought up, the culture, and we are born to take care of everybody. We are nurturers by us just being women. So we are not as selfish as men. Men can be very selfish. And I think we need to get to a point where you're also being selfish and you're putting yourself first. You need to put yourself first. You need to love yourself so that, you're happy. If you're happy as a person, then you make better decisions, and you're not going to be a dessua where you have this man using your money, not making anything better. There's a son there. They had a son. He's not even thinking about his son. He's using that money on women. So what was going through his mind? Like, what happens if you use all that money? What about his future? What about his education? Because he's already thinking, my wife will make that money again. Because she's not even going to tell the world to say my husband misused the money. She's just going to go be a lawyer, make more money, and she'll take care of our son. So I really, I think that selfishness, you need to get to a point where you get selfish as well and think about yourself first. As long as it's not hurting a lot of people, then I think it's okay. I think I need to watch my words there. Yeah.
And heal and create those boundaries as well. I think, to be honest, we're talking about money today, but as I was saying when we began this whole conversation, so many things are so much more deeper than money. When you get to learn yourself, respect yourself, love yourself, it follows through those boundaries into how you create relationships with money, how you use it, how you move with it in life, how you share it with other people. And it all starts with your internal work. Love yourself, respect yourself. It follows through into your relationships as well. Don't be a doormat. As Mutumu mentioned so beautifully, she said, you know, respect yourself. And normally when you know a person is disrespecting you, you do know. But when you continue allowing a person to continually disrespect you, you're disrespecting yourself. And that's the worst thing, the highest thing you could ever do. So, you know, love yourself enough to take yourself out of situations that where respect is no longer being served. You are loved. I mean, literally, you're the epitome of love. God created you. Before you were even formed in your mother, He saw you and loved you. How can you think that you are loveless? How can you let somebody crap all over you like that? Like, seriously, love yourself enough to know that you can be loved again and you will trust. Like I was saying about the law of attraction, I truly believe this. What you desire and think of yourself, I think it all begins in the mind. You create the realities you want, even the realities in relationship. So start with that. Look at yourself with love and respect yourself. And that follows through with everything else.
Yeah, Muma, maybe just share that slide, or you can make me a host so that I can share the slide as we wind down. I just wanted to point out a few things on Tami, because I think her character is also very important and we should pick out some lessons from her. There's absolutely nothing wrong with someone wanting to date or marry rich men, but there was something that was very key that I think it was Zuri or Lara, I think it was Lara who mentioned it, where she said, you know, there's nothing wrong with you dating a man who's got money or making that your goal, but she also mentioned something about power dynamics. If you're always on the receiving end, then money becomes a weapon. So you should not find yourself in a situation where your goal is just to marry a rich man or to date a rich man. They're providing for you, but then if you're always on the receiving end, you should always have something going for yourself. So if you're always on the receiving end, then money is a weapon that is going to be used against you. So I think you have your rich, wealthy man, but make a plan. Yeah.
If he says something, please read what he says.
Okay, I just wanted to say something else on Tami, and Tami is the one that had the business. And
yes, she had a wealthy father and she only dated rich boyfriends.
Rich guys. Yeah, but on the business part, I think for me, my takeaway was she didn't want to take responsibility of her money. And even though her father was providing and it's something that she could have leveraged on, she decided to take a very laissez-faire attitude until she had the crisis where the tellers decided to leave her. And even then, she didn't have a backup plan. My takeaway on that is, you know, sometimes you had mentioned earlier that despite where you're getting the money from, or even if you're getting it from a spouse or whoever, you have to be intelligent about it. And in my experience, I've found that, you know, sometimes when you're a bit comfortable, you tend to be careless with the money that is there because you're always thinking, oh, it will come. So the moment you take responsibility of what you have and the little that you are being given, I think it gives you a better stepping stone, giving you a better stepping stone despite those. If you're going to compare yourself with someone who's going to have to start from scratch. So for me, that was my takeaway from that, not to be careless with the money that is coming in, irrespective of where it's coming from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe I could show the slides according to what is being spoken about. I took some pictures of things that were in the
I think there were lessons at every end of chapter or every end of series. I think everybody needs to do those exercises. You know, it's very helpful. Just write down. You need to understand what financial freedom is. Sometimes you can think that you're financially free when in fact you're not. I think it's really, really important. And if anybody wants the book, I think the book has got more depth than the series. The series, yeah, I can share the book. I've got the PDF as well.
I will.
This one about active income and passive income is so important for you to understand what an active income is and a passive income is. It's really, really important for everybody to start working on having both. You know, you have your active.
I wanted to just say something. You know, in the beginning you were saying that you had issues where you want to buy stuff when you have events and stuff like that. My issue when I was taking inventory of my finances, where that, you know, even the chilimbas that we join are becoming very taxing on me, because I'm just trying to think,
God,
like,
that's a whole other topic. Don't get me started.
I was thinking about it, and it just gives me headache at the end of the month. Like, truly, I'm now even thinking, you know, come end of 2021, I'm actually not going to join any chilimba, because there's no benefit. I have to think about, oh, what's the minimum that I need to save? And sometimes even the share out for me doesn't make sense with what I have put in. You know, it's just become ridiculous, and I'm like, am I really making financial sense?
I can't see the person talking. Who's speaking?
It's Tombozi.
Tombozi, actually what I didn't tell you is I've started a financial tech company in Zambia. It's called Kripia. And in a couple of months, one of the things we're doing is we're automating the Chilimba groups to remove such problems like what you're saying. So when you launch, I will add you to like the list of people. So you're able to actually join Chilimba groups that are random, or bring your own Chilimba groups onto the platform, and all the issues that you have like will be removed. You would literally be able to see all the money in the pots, so you don't have to think about like, I can't see what's been put, you know, how much has been removed, and there'll be controls to stop people from taking out money without approval and things like that. So it's so
yeah, and I really wish you had spoken to me about this, Tombozi. I would have given you some, you know, some insight. That's a whole different topic for another day. But just quickly, people make mistakes. You shouldn't even be joining more than one chilimba. That is wrong. And chilimba should, anyway, I don't want to go into that. It's a whole topic for another day. Let's talk after this. And
it's a quick one, guys. So I will not go through the slides. I will share them instead. Then you guys will have them. I'll send you emails. But Maureen, we're going to give a gift to 3 of you. So the only way for you to get a gift to 3 of you is click the link that we shared in the chat. Whoever's comment gets the most likes gets a full financial health check from Maureen. As you know, she's an international financial advisor. So that means the advice she gives is guaranteed in all countries. So it's going to be okay for you to be able to be advised, whether you're in the UK, South Africa, Zambia, wherever you are. She can give you like proper financial advice because she's qualified to do so. So this will be won by 3 people. So that's your that's how you get a free full financial health check. So you do that. Click on the links from both of our groups and make a comment about today and what you learned or what you would like to share with other people from today's session. And whichever comment gets the most likes gets to, if you do feel like you need a financial health check, Maureen will be able to do that. I've also shared a survey that you guys, please, if you absolutely loved being here today, we ask that it's like a 1-minute survey. Fill it and let us know if you want another of these sessions next month or in a couple of months.
And once we read the next book, we want to do this again.
Yeah. Okay.
Have you sent the survey?
Yes, I actually sent, just go up the messages above, you'll be able to see. Let me see if I can attach it again. But yeah, I sent the links. Yeah, there you go. So that's our group, Satiki and Financial Fitness Corner for Divas. And then the last thing is a survey. Just click on that and yeah, you'll be able to fill out information if you want another session. Lynette, unfortunately, you've joined right at the end, but don't worry, I will be sharing a YouTube link. I'll upload this video on YouTube and you can share it with whoever you want, or if you want to listen to it again. But I think it was really informative. Pretty, I recommend you share with all your guy friends and get them to come to it. You know,
please let your guy friends come to our next chat. We need more men. There was something that he said there where he said you have to be ready to share with other women. I think that will also take another hour to to speak about. But yeah, I hope we'll have more guys next time. I think it was very good conversation.
Putty, maybe you can close the next one. So bring these topics that you brought up and then we can continue this discussion. But ladies, thank you so much for coming. We've been so, like, you know, thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you for showing up for yourself. Because I think when you do these discussions, what you're doing is you're healing yourself. You're healing generations of trauma when it comes to money, or these discussions that we have, they're kind of like therapy. So thank you. And thank you, Muareen, for coming as well.
Yeah, thank you, Muma. And is there anybody else who wants to say anything before we close? Just keep it short. You can type in the group or you can say something. And we really look forward to having you at our next conversation.
This is a great initiative, guys. We look forward to the next one. Thank you.
Thank you, Tomo.
Anyone else got anything to say? I'm going to share the link of the Smart Money Woman once I upload it, the PDF, so you can actually also see the points in the series for yourselves.
Oh, actually, Muma, we should have mentioned, because we did say that we had a surprise from the Smart Money Woman creator. So we actually got in touch with her. Maybe, Muma, you can just share that. Unfortunately, the video didn't come on time, but we will send it to you, ladies. So, Muma, maybe just get into that.
Yes, ladies, apologies. So, Arese, the lady who created the Smart Money Woman, we reached out to her, told her about this great initiative. She was so glad, like she wanted to send a message to you guys. I did reach out to her, but she's been traveling somewhere that is like off grid. And unfortunately, her assistant is the one I managed to get today. But she said she'll send me everything. And once it's sent, I'll share it in the groups as well and onto the YouTube channel, so you can hear what she has to say to you guys. But yeah, I'm so proud of all of you for showing up.
Yeah. All right, ladies, that is the end of our conversation today. Thank you so much. And we'll send the YouTube. Please share it for the people that were not here today, and hope to see you next time.
We will. Thank you so much. And we have all your details anyway, because when you logged in. Also, don't forget, did you all manage to get the links that we've sent in the chat? Because once we end this chat, you will lose the links. So just click on them now if you can. I will stop the recording though.